I appreciate y'all letting me come here. I never really knew about this church until I guess 2 weeks ago, something like that. I've heard the name. I ran into Mr. Chris here at Dollar General a couple of times. Every time I ran into this man, he was like, "Man, come on to my church." He said, "We'd love to have you. We need to have you down there." And I kept, doing what the typical person did. Says, "All right, I'll be there," and I never came. I didn't realize what I was missing out on. There's a lot of presence of the Lord here in this place, and every time I'm in this building, it's overwhelming. First time I ever came here, it was kind of intimidating, but in a good way. First time I ever came to this church was a Bible study. Mr. Frankie Hardison back there invited me. I had just given my first ever, not only just my first time ever preaching, my first ever revival, and then my first ever drive-in revival. So it was my first 3 days back to back. So God made sure He smacked me hard with the Spirit. So I was full of it that week. I ain't never felt the presence of the Lord so much in my life. And every day that I spoke at this revival up the road, I just felt like I couldn't stop talking. I felt like, if Jesus Christ gave His life for me, the least I can do is open my mouth and talk, And it went on and on and on, and every night got better and better. And then to top everything off, Friday night was over with, and I felt useless. I was like, man, I got to wake up tomorrow and not speak? No way. Frankie Harrison sent me a message. He's like, man, come on out to my Bible study tonight. I didn't know what I was getting into. Well, I showed up, and it's 4 of these men that you would not ever, I don't know how to explain it. You wouldn't picture these 4 men doing what we did this night. We came in here, and we started praying, and just the prayer itself, hearing these 4 or 5 grown men just crying out to another being bigger than us, all having the same spirit inside of them, was just powerful. So I sat there and prayed with them. We did a Bible study, and it just kept getting better and better. And we come out here and turn the lights off, and had music going, and the oil was being spilled out on everybody. And I got prayed on. I ain't never felt so empowered by God in my life with just a couple of men. So you'll find God in the smallest of places, just like the biggest of places. And just this little church, it's just overflowing. And I love what y'all represent and how y'all brought me in and welcomed me. This is my second service today. I've already been to one service at Poplar Chapel this morning. That's my church. And I got a few things I want to share with y'all today. I'm gonna be speaking mostly on my testimony. I'm sure some of you here may have heard it on Facebook or somewhere else I've spoken, but I've been through a lot of different trials that I hope can relate to each person here at some point. I want to connect with one person. That's it. And I know that everybody's going through something right now. The world's chaos. It's crazy. And so I'm going to start off with a song I wrote. I write songs right often here. God's kind of put it in my life now, so I got to keep going with it. And this first one I wrote was in memory of my son. This past year, and this is part of my testimony, but I'm not getting started in it yet. I want to start with this because this past year I lost my 2-year-old little boy. And I'll find the lyrics here somewhere. Okay, so September of last year, me and my wife woke up one morning around 7:30, and my boy was nowhere to be found in the room. He got up and snuck out of bed in the room and everything. This boy ain't even 2 years old yet. So I woke up in a panic. I already felt something was going on. When you got a kid, you love something, so much, and you can feel any little thing going on, whether you see it or not. And I woke up in a panic, boy, and I saw the bedroom door was open. So immediately, right then, I was like, "Oh, he's in the house somewhere. I gotta go get him." I went around the house and couldn't find him. I was like, "Amy, get up, help me! I don't know where Camden is." And I started looking around the house, couldn't find him anywhere. I started crying and doing what every other Christian or normal person does, and they start praying, "God, please help me find my son. Where's my son at? What in the world kind of parent am I? Can't find my baby boy." I look out and see the back door is wide open. I go to the door and started looking around my yard, calling out, Camden, where you at, buddy? And I just keep waiting to see him giggling and running around a corner or something. Couldn't find him. I went running to the back ditch, looked all down there in the woods, couldn't find him. I said, man, where is he at? I went to the cornfield across from my house, went walking around there panicking, looking. And last place I checked was my neighbors, and they didn't have a gate around their pool, their underground pool. And I've had my children out playing in my yard every day, and he never paid it no mind, not one bit. Never decided to go over there in their yard, never even thought about even peeking at that pool until a couple of seconds that I wasn't there. My son took off to that pool and flopped in there, and I couldn't get to him in time. I pulled my little boy's lifeless body out of that pool and laid him up there on the side, and I started giving him CPR. When you go through CPR classes and you go through any type of training like that, you're like, man, I probably won't never use this. You kind of pay attention. I remember the first time I had my course was in the military. Basic training, they had the life readiness course where you got to go and you got to be prepared to save somebody's life at some point. And I was taking that CPR class, and like everybody else, I was like, man, I ain't gonna really need this. But here I am pumping on my little boy. My hands are bigger than his whole stomach and chest and everything. Just having to push on that little chest to try and get air back and life into this boy. It ain't always like it is in the movies. With that said, all my begging and crying and pleading with God to breathe life back in my boy, to bring him back, the best thing he could have done for me in that situation was say no, to tell me no. That he's got a better plan for my son. He's got a better plan for myself. And so me and my wife, we started really changing and turning and reshaping and fixing our life, but we didn't do it by ourselves. When my son died, Jesus Christ and His Spirit came more in my life than it's ever been. And God made sure that I knew that my son was taken care of in heaven. And He made sure that we got a house to come home to. And you're going to lose things in life. It's one thing we're all having in common. I don't care how different you are, the color of your skin, or where you're from, or how tall you are, or short you are, how nice your beard is. We're all have the same thing. We're all going to die. And there's nothing to be scared of if you live right. And if you do right, and if you follow His commandments and you follow His teaching, and you understand that you're saved by grace. Grace of Jesus Christ down on that cross for us that don't deserve it. That's it. But before I get more into my testimony, I want to stop here with this song, because this is the first time I ever touched the guitar really and wrote. After my son died, I had so much balled up inside me, I had to let it out, so I picked up a guitar for the first time and started picking around. This song came to my head, and I'm going to share it with y'all real quick. I still love the sound of your laughter, the way your eyes light up the room, the sound of footsteps when you were running, chasing your brother around the room. And I know you're up in heaven with the angels looking down, but I just can't help but to miss you, son, even though I know you're in good hands. Playing with the other children, do you ever miss it here with me? Have you climbed up in the arms of Jesus as He taught you how to climb a tree? And I know you're up in heaven, having the time of your life, but I just can't understand, when you die to live for Christ, you're in good hands, no matter what. So with everything said so far, I want to ask you a question that you always have to think about. Where is your attention at all times? Is it that beautiful little baby over there? Is it your family? Is it this church? Or is it God? If you put everything you do every day through Him, the outcome will be Him. And you'll see Him in the lives of everyone around you that you're speaking in Him through with your actions. And you'll see Him in the presence in the room you're in when there's people that understand where you're coming from with your heart. When your heart is focused on Jesus Christ, your spirit is focused on Jesus Christ, the presence of yourself is focused on Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is contagious. When you get your focus where it needs to be, it should be so easy to just rub it off on somebody. Sometimes all it takes is just a hug or the comfort of knowing that it's not all from you, it's from Jesus. You know, He loves you so much that He died for your sins. And until people get the grasp of that, you're not ever going to understand the power of His love, because how can you not trust a man that died for you? Because what else does He have to give after that? Okay, so with that question, where is all your attention? Put it on Him first. And I know kids are great, life is great, the church is great. But keep your attention on Him first and let everything else follow. And then here's the other question. With your attention being focused where it is, before I told you to focus on God, are you willing to give that up at any point in time and follow Jesus Christ? Is He important enough to you that you're willing to take whatever it is that's so important in your life, whether it's that pornography in your phone that you just have to watch at the end of every day, or whether it's, a spousal relationship where you're out, committing little things here and there that you think you're getting away with, but, God says, if you think it, you're doing it. That's enough. So are you willing to give that up? And if so, is it an addiction you've had for this whole time that you've showed yourself, I want to give it up, I just don't know how? Because I'm telling you this right now. As a kid growing up, I went through some mess. My dad decided to use me as a little beating block for a while. And I had a twin brother, and I had an older brother, and I had a little half brother and sister too. And for some reason, the attention of the beatings was put on me for some reason. And I went through that until I was probably 9.5, 10 years old. And I had to go back with a divorce from my parents. That's tough. There's a reason why Jesus, when He was here, He makes it a point. When you get married to someone, it's a promise you're making with God, and if something's brought up in your marriage that there's the slightest bit of hope you can work through with Jesus Christ, do it. If somebody's cheated or something, it's tough, it's hard. But let me tell you this, me and my wife, it ain't that thing we've been through in this relationship that nobody else in here has been through at some point. We've came to a point where we've been fighting, arguing, throwing stuff at each other, cursing each other up and down, leaving. She's left me. She never truly left me. But through all of it, our relationship's stronger today, after losing my son, than it ever has been in going on 8 years. Because we involved Jesus Christ in my life. So, when I went through that stuff as a kid, I never realized, I had somebody watching out through me, through it all with me. Because while my dad was putting me through all that, my mom, on the other hand, was pushing me to go to church every Sunday. No matter what I was going through with my dash, whatever, she made sure I had time to come back on Sunday, go to church, learn a little bit about God, and keep on going with my life. And, it was a pattern I kind of picked up. Sunday's the Lord's Day. Every other day seemed to be my day. That ain't how it is. After my dad and me kind of had our thing, my mom put a restraining order on my real dad and kind of took him out of my life for a little bit. And in that process, my mom actually met my stepdad, who was an amazing man. He gave me everything my real dad didn't, and showed me, hey, look, this is what it's like to be a father, and this is what you deserve. Me being your dad. He took me fishing. He got on me when I was, doing something bad, and he didn't treat me any different than any of my other brothers and sisters or his children. Literally, it was all love. I only knew that man 3 years, and in those 3 years, I found out what a dad was, which is why I raised my boy like I do. But God decided once again to take something else out of my life. One morning, rewind a little bit, the night before this morning, I had gotten in trouble at school. It was a Thursday night, and I got in trouble at school that Thursday. And I had been fighting with this guy, nothing big, but enough to get my tail torn up at home. And my mom got to the point where she realized, I was a big boy, and after middle school, I've been this height since 8th grade, and my mom's only this tall. So there's only but so much she can do when it comes to spankings and whatever you want to call it. So she decided to pass the torch over to my stepdad for the kind of first time. And he was crying before he even started. And this is a big man, a big, scary man, crying because he had to spank me. And so I got ready for it. Usually with my mom, I got a little bit of time to prepare. I'll get home from school and start stuffing stuff in my pants. And my stepdad didn't have no chance to really kind of prepare myself, so I went back there and he said, all right, son, grab your ankles and bend over. And I grabbed my ankles and bent over. He said, every time you come up, you're going to get another one. Oh, boy. Well, here goes the first one. I bent over, smack! Oh, it popped up so fast. He's crying. He's crying. So bend on over again, son. Bend on over again. I do it again. Whoosh. I held on tight this time. But in that holding on tight, Satan got the best of me. And I told my stepdad, I said, I hate you. You're not my dad. And I ran upstairs. Next morning at 4 o'clock, my stepdad gets up and go to work. He didn't get much sleep. Last thing he heard me say was, I hate you. You're not my daddy. After everything you did for me. Just like Jesus Christ. My stepdad got up at 4 o'clock and started heading to work. And when he left, it wasn't no different than the other day. He snuck upstairs and gave us a kiss goodbye, but he didn't wake us up. My mom got a call around 10 o'clock that morning saying that my stepdad never showed up to work. And I remember seeing my mom so panicky. She started calling Martin General. She started calling Plymouth Hospital. She started calling all the way out until she finally reached Chowan Hospital and asked if they had anybody brought in. And she called Chowan, and they were like, yeah, your husband's here. No, we can't really discuss anything on the phone. I don't know if y'all have ever been through anything like that, where it's just kind of up in the air. You don't know. Kind of like a faith situation where you got to have faith. You don't know what's going to come next. You got faith that something's going to come, but you don't know what it is. We're all riding over there to Chowan. I'm in the back of the car. All I can think about is, man, I told this man I hate him. I can't wait to get there and fix this. I can't wait to get there and tell my stepdad that I'm so sorry that you were everything my real daddy wants. I walk into this hospital and they pull us in this room about the size of this corner right here. They sit us down, and my stepdad ran into the back of a log truck and got killed. When they found him, he kept little pictures of us, and it's like everybody does, up in this little speedometer place up there. And they said when he found him, he had a picture of me and my brothers in one hand and an apron when Daniel and his other kids in his other. Out cold with the love of his life in his hands. He loved us. He loved me after I told him I hated him. When I found out my stepdaddy died, I punched a hole in that hospital wall and I ran. I ran out of that hospital, ran away from my family. I tried to run away from God. 'cause I was mad. All these Sunday school lessons and teachings about how good God is and how great God is. Why do you take away my stepdad? Why didn't you give me a chance to fix things with this man? God put a pause on my stepdad's life because he taught his lessons so fast. In 3 years, he showed me how to be a man. He showed me how to be a father. He showed me how to love. His teachings in my life happened to be done in God's eyes, so sure, he's going to take him up to heaven and teach me a lesson. Show me there's a bigger plan for me. So I took that punch in the gut and I kept on going. But I started noticing about 6 or 7 months after he died, I need a dad. I had 3 years of a dad after all these years of not having a dad. Now I'm back to not having a dad. What in the world am I going to do? I called up my real dad. I told him to meet me at Shamrock and Winston after 4 or 5 years of not even talking to him. I said, look, Dad, you got to come out here and meet me. I don't know why. I was only, I was 15 this time. And I called my dad, met him up at Shamrock. And I was like, look, man, you got to step up. I was like, 'cause I need a dad in my life. And I remember I broke down crying, hugging this man. And, my brothers to this day still don't really forgive my dad for what he did to me. Not to them. But he don't forgive them. They don't forgive him. I forgave my dad on the spot that day. I was only 15 years old, and I said, Daddy, I need you to be my dad. Please. I said, I'll forgive you for anything I can, but just be my daddy. Well, my dad stepped up a little bit. He's just as hard-headed as he can be, though. But I gave him another chance. And I went through high school, stayed in contact with my dad, got out of high school, and started making decisions. Bad decisions. Some were okay, but most of them were bad. After I graduated high school, I went to college for only like a couple months and found out I was too cool for college. So I took off and ran away up to Pennsylvania. And up there in Pennsylvania, it was crazy. When you're from the country and you go up to anywhere in the city or even up north at all, it's crazy up there. I don't know what in the world they're thinking. But I went up there, and first job I got was the best thing a country boy could have, and that's working at Cracker Barrel. So like, you go in there, it's the only place you feel at home, even though it's these Yankees pretending to have an accent, pretending to say yes ma'am and no sir, and then there's me in there, if I don't say yes ma'am and no sir, my grandma's going to show up somewhere and spank my tail. So I had a job at Cracker Barrel. I kind of liked it. I got to talk to people every day. But in this time when I had ran away, I was with my ex, my daughter's mother, and she was a mess. I went through being cheated on with 13 guys. A bunch of other mess. And during this whole time, I was locked away in Pennsylvania because I was away from my family, so I was up there stuck with her and her family in a house that's not mine, and I had to stay there and deal with being manipulated. And in the process, I was working my tail off, not only at Cracker Barrel at this point, but I was also working night shift at Bed Bath & Beyond. And then during the day, I was working at Hollister too, so I was doing 3 jobs and getting 2 hours of sleep a day for a long time. And it got to the point where it was messing with me. I was like, I have to go to work all the time. I don't even get to see my daughter. And I was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm stuck in this house with a woman that don't even love me. So, like everybody else, I thought I had it worse than everybody else. And I got out of that house. And I got out away from her and her family. And I tried to get myself set up somewhere so I could see my daughter, my baby girl. And it ended up being another 6 months before I was living out on the streets. 6 months. I mean, jumping from whoever I was working with at Cracker Barrel, my friends, I'd jump from their house to another house to another house, just whoever I could sleep with. And I'd walk to work every day. I mean, from Nanticoke, Pennsylvania to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, it's about a 10-minute drive. I would leave an hour before work walking to get to my job at Cracker Barrel, just to walk around tables to walk and leave. So life was getting kind of rough. I was getting so tired. I was getting like sleep deprivation and all this mess, and with that coming comes depression and all these other stuff that the government puts on you as diagnosis. Well, got to the point I couldn't take it anymore. Mom won't talk to me. I ran away from everybody at home. I made horrible decisions. I was doing drugs, horrible drugs. And I mean, not just 1, 2, or 3, but I'm pretty sure every single one of them you can think of was going inside of my system, right and left. Because I felt like I was just at a point I couldn't escape life. And I got through that stage and got to that brick wall, and I was like, man, I'm done. I went to Wilkes-Barre, Kingston. There's a bridge that joins the two towns. Probably about 45, 50 foot off the water. And I went to this bridge around, I think it was around like 1:30 when I started at night. Technically in the morning. I sat on top of this bridge, my feet just dangling and swinging. Ready to jump. Could not wait to hit that water. But I sat there for about 2.5, 3 hours till 3 something in the morning. And I put it all on one call. I was like, well, praying hadn't worked this whole time, I don't think. Because, I ain't hearing his voice. I was like, I begged and pleaded with my family. I was like, nothing's really working. I was like, I'm going to put it under this. If I call my mom right now at 3:30 in the morning after she ain't talked to me in months because of the decision I made, I was like, I won't jump. Yeah, dialed my mom's number. Hit send. My mom answered the phone in the middle of the night at 3:30 in the morning. After not talking to me for months, after ignoring every call, she happened to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and answer that call. Saved my life. But was that really her? No. But listen, my mom got me a bus ticket to come back home to North Carolina. And I'm talking about that night, she got up and got on the computer, had it done. All I had to do was just grab my bags of mess, which was sprawled out from one person's house to another, and go to the bus station, get on a Greyhound. Well, I went and I started getting all my stuff together in garbage bags. When I was done, I had 5 big garbage bags full, and I'm talking about the big hefty bags, biggest ones you can get, because I had a lot of mess. Well, I grabbed everything together, went to the Greyhound bus. I've never got on a Greyhound before, and I'm telling you today, don't do it. So, I got on the first bus, and I didn't know you're supposed to transfer your stuff over each bus ride. I mean, they tell you get on the bus and you go where you gotta go. Well, when you're driving on a Greyhound, they're going to stop everywhere, like 10,000 times. So on the way back home, to North Carolina, they stopped, I don't know, probably 10, 15 times minimum. I saw everything in that little ride. But what I didn't see is my bags get switched over. And I went about 15 buses deep. And so I lost everything I worked my tail off for all those years, stuff from kind of high school and other things. Got back to North Carolina and literally started fresh again. But my mom helped me get kind of set up to the point I could see my daughter, 50% of the time again. Awesome. But I still wanted to do something different. So I still had something kind of pulling me backwards. I started getting back into drugs a little bit and making decisions. Even when Mom saved my life and tried to give me another chance, started making horrible decisions again. Well, one night, New Year's Eve of 2011, me and my friends were up late doing drugs. And talking about like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden I hear this noise in my house. It sounded like a screen door just slam. And I was like, man, did y'all hear that? What in the world was that? And they were like, oh, it was probably the door. It was probably the door. And I lived there. I know that was not a screen door. It was something loud. So I went out there and peeked. And what was down there in Everett, I don't know if y'all ever been on there. There's the cemetery before you get into Everett. At the bottom of the hill before there's this little bridge. I used to live in that brick house right there beside that bridge. I look out there and a minivan had ran, this is in the middle of the night, ran right into that guardrail head on. And it pushed the engine back into the driver's lap and pinned him in the car. But what I saw at first was just this van and mess shooting out of the front of the hood and a little bit of flame underneath there. So I took off running out to this van thinking there was a family in there. But it was this one little guy, Asher Turner. And man, he was messed up. His feet, everything was crunched all up because the engine, the guardrail pushed everything back into him. And I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I started grabbing this guy and turning and twisting, and I pulled him out of the car. And I'm saying I turned and took probably 5 steps, dragging this guy away from the car. Poof! I mean, huge. I felt like Chuck Norris tucking and rolling on this guy. That car blew up. I'm telling you, man, them flames from that car, when I look back, were higher than not just the bottom power line, but the second power line, the top one. The flames were way up there. You know, in 5 seconds of 5 footsteps, which weren't even 5 seconds, I mean, 5 footsteps away from that car, we would have both been gone. You know, if I wasn't there pulling him out, and if I didn't drop and fall on top of him. Well, I pulled this guy a little bit further away from the car, and I called to all my friends who were messed all up. And I was like, man, y'all got to help me, y'all got to help me. I was like, go in there and get a blanket. And they came out, and I wrapped this guy up, and I called his mama, and I called the ambulance, called everybody up there, and we saved this guy's life. And that made me decide to join the military. So I wanted to save people's lives. I wanted to make a difference and change things, and I wanted to change myself. I wanted to get back in a situation where I could see my daughter all the time, but at the same time have a future for her. So, cool. I joined the military, and I was in there 3 years. And in those 3 years, I managed to break both my feet, mess up my knee, herniated 3 discs in my back, cracked my skull, seizure disorder. I was having 2 to 3 seizures a day. Memory loss, anxiety disorder, depression, sleep insomnia, bipolar disorder. What else? A few other things. But this is all on paper. So whatever they said I had it. And it all started, I was in Germany, and I had messed up both my feet and my knee in training. I don't know, a year before. In the military, they ain't going to take care of you like they say they will. I had my first surgery on my foot in 2016 that broke in 2012. So something's a little up with that. But while I was in Germany, they started putting me on pain meds for my feet and my knee. And those pain meds, when you're in the military and you have lack of sleep, will start messing with your head. So I started going to see a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist starts shoving pills down my throat, so eventually I'm taking 16 pills a day. 16 pills a day. And I'm talking about not just little pills. I'm talking about like 6 Klonopin throughout the day. You know, normal people take those before surgeries and stuff like that. I was taking 6 of those a day. Then I was taking Effexor, I was having muscle spasms and stuff, which they couldn't explain. Then I was having all kinds of other little things, and Remeron, which is a thing it's like a horse tranquilizer at the end of the day to try and put me out, on top of everything else that are downers. So because of this, I had 3 grand mal seizures in 30 minutes. Well, 30, 45 minutes. And it started, I was standing there, I remember being in my kitchen in Germany, and I remember dropping the first time, blacking out, and I remember kind of coming to, and I was like, I want to call my mom. Call my mom, and my mom to this day says it's one of the most horrifying experiences she's ever had in her life. She says she answers the phone, and I'm telling her what happened. She says she hears the phone drop, and then she hears her baby boy drop beside of it, and she hears all that through the phone in the United States, and I'm in Germany, and she can't do nothing. She can't get on a plane and get over there in a couple of minutes or an hour or even 5 or 10. You know, it's a long ride. She can't do nothing. My friend picks up the phone, tries to calm her down while they're trying to get me straight and keep my head from hitting everything, but when I fell down this time, I actually hit my head on the side of the counter and had a 2.5-inch crack in the back of my skull, which caused all my head trauma stuff to amplify even worse than what it was, which caused my seizures and everything else just to boost after that. So I lost track of about 2.5 months of my life. I don't remember coming back to the United States because they had me in a German hospital over there for a long time, and that's a scary situation when you're in a hospital and nobody really understands. You know, that's a scary feeling, and I apparently went through that without even knowing it. And I was over there in the hospital, and then they sent me over to Fort Bragg, and I don't remember any of it. And I remember when they first put me there, they had me with two different 2 different stations. And then when you get moved around in the military, you meet like a group of 40 guys at a time, in your unit. And apparently I had met those guys while I was over there getting straight to the med hospital stuff, but then I had to switch units again. And I had people coming up to me, talking to me that knew me so well, supposedly, and I didn't know who they were. They would come and talk to me and talk to me and talk to me, and it would traumatize me. It was scary not knowing what was going on. But I pulled through it. And me and my wife, we got on a good path with things, and I got out of the military, I got a home, and I started living my life to what I thought was right. We had my little boy Braden right there, and life was kind of okay. It was all right. I didn't have Jesus in my life like I should have at that point, but I thought everything was okay. Started living, and when you get caught living in the world, you start living the things of this world, so I started making horrible decisions again. And that's when my son's thing kind of catches up. Before my son died, I'm talking about like right before my son died, I was making some of the worst decisions in my life. I was caught up in pornography. I was caught up in anger. I was so mad at everybody for no reason. I'm fighting with my wife all the time. I just felt like I had it worse than anybody else. Now nothing was even going on at this point until I lost my son. And I think everybody at some point in their life reaches a point where God is like, He'll give you an opportunity to kind of straighten up, and if you don't do it, He's going to really find whatever it is that's going to break you so He can rebuild you, or either He can let you go. Because, God says Himself in Thessalonians 2:10, that popped right up there. In 2 Thessalonians 2:10 through 12, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this reason, God will send them strong delusion that they shall believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in the unrighteousness. So God says, when you deny Him, you're not going to be the same. And He's going to make sure whatever you think is great or above Him, He's going to make it look even grander. He'll make it look even better for you unless you accept His love and His grace and His mercy and change your life for Him. Because since my son died, I've never felt so much love in my life. And I put Him above everything because I know that He took care of my son. To know that my little baby boy, who is so sweet and precious and everything to me, is in heaven right now, that's a bonus. I get to see my Maker. I get to see my son. My stepdad too, hopefully. I don't know what his last words were. It's probably, please God, help my son realize that I still love him, because I'm telling you, I cannot, to this day, one of my biggest regrets is what I said to my stepdad. And it's going to haunt me the rest of my life, just like my son. But I see death different now. I see life lessons different now. So I'm not scared to die. I'm excited for what my future holds as far as being a human being on this earth. But I'm more excited about what follows being a Christian and a true follower of Jesus Christ. And if you start really changing and focusing your life and your attention on the right things, God will make it clear to you that there's absolutely nothing to be scared of in this world. Spiritual warfare is beyond real. It's something I've dealt with my whole life. You too. Everybody here is, because Satan's a real thing too. People praise God, praise Jesus every day of their life, and they forget, Satan's a real thing too. And he's just as much around right now as anything else. And that ain't going to change. It's going to get harder. There's going to be all kinds of spiritual warfare you're going to face. But when you're a Christian, and you're truly a born-again Christian in Jesus Christ, He's there to help you fight. You just got to learn how to use Him. You use everything He's teaching you everything you've learned through life lessons, use that as your shield, your anchor, your sword, whatever you need to use it for, use it. Because you got something in your corner that some people forget they have. But how can you forget something that powerful? I'm trying my best as a follower of Jesus Christ, that anybody I come in contact with, I'm trying to get them to understand the meaning of Jesus and the meaning of life before they get to the point that they have to lose something so precious to find out. You don't have to get to that point, and there's no point in waiting to that point because God don't give everybody that chance, that opportunity. I know it's death, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for change. It's an opportunity for repentance, big time. Because you're like, man, I need to change because, not only do I want to get up there to Jesus and everybody else, I want to get there with my son too. This is another amplified motivation for me to follow to get to where I'm going. So this is where prayer comes in. If you're going through, like you're going through, or anyone in here is going through as far as like something spiritually that you feel like is too overwhelming, understand the power of prayer. In Matthew 21:22, it says, all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, and ye shall receive. So, like, if you pray something and you have true faith that you're going to get an outcome, God says it's going to happen. But so many people pray just to say words and don't understand the power that those words could really foretell if you had faith following those. Because back to the story that started all this when I sat in this room right here. When those men, you guys, were praying on me and talking to me, filling my words and my thoughts and my everything with nothing but the Spirit. I got home that night at 11 o'clock, 11:30. I got my wife out of bed. I was like, I'm making a video right now. I was like, I can't hold it back. She says, what in the world? You've been gone for 4.5 hours. What have you been doing? I said, I've been praying. I've been praying, and I would have stayed even longer if they didn't kick me out of that church. But I got her up, and I've learned to just trust. Not just trust God, but just trust everything. Trust His next day that He has for you. Trust His car ride. Trust everything that He puts in front of you, and you'll be okay. Faith is something that has to be the biggest part of your relationship with Jesus Christ, because trials are going to happen, because death is going to happen, because sorrow and grief is going to happen. It's up to you to take those and change, and take those and reshape your life, and understand, where God comes from with what He does in your life. I got one more song I want to share with you guys. This is another song I wrote. But I do want to challenge you this week to really focus your attention on Jesus Christ right now more than ever, and understand that everything that you have in your life comes from Him. I thank you for welcoming me to this church, and I'll be back more. But make sure y'all take the church out with you. And every day, it's important to not just come here today to get your last little bit of grief out for the week, or, God demands your attention, and He's very jealous. And if you live your life putting your anything, I can't even name it, your jobs and whatever, if you put that stuff over Him the slightest little bit, expect something in return that's going to, make you wake up and realize you got to put Him first. I'm going to play this last song, and then I'll have a prayer. And I don't know how y'all do it during that prayer or this. If y'all want to come up here and pray, or, anything you want to do involving my Jesus Christ, do it. Because His arms are open always. It's just up to you to go up and embrace Him and hold on to Him. sky. I feel you looking down, watching over me, watching over me. And everywhere I go, and everything I see, I find you here in me, I find you here in me. Today I'll praise you, Lord, for what you've done for me, the way you gave your life, so I may be set free. I owe you my whole life, so until I get to you, I'll hold on to you, I'll hold on to you. Thank you for this day, and every single fear, and every little smile, and every drop of tears. It made me who I am, and pulled me into you. Now every storm I face, all I need is you. Brought me to my knees, so you may lift me up. You taught me everything, taught me everything. So now I'll take my life, and I'll lay it all down. I'll give you all of me, I'll give you all of me. I'll give you all of me. Look up to the sky, feel you looking down, watching over me, watching